Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. The rising British prospect David Adeleye has advanced to 4-0 following a second round stoppage in London against Danny Whittaker, and this fight featured on the Dubois and Joyce undercard. So overall, it was a good performance. We'll cover the action briefly and then to the what next, because it's clear that the 24-year-old Adeleye is ready for a bigger test, a bit of a step up, and I've got one or two names in mind, but to the action proper with this fight. So I think many of us expected that this should be a pretty sort of standard sort of win for Adeleye, and it was. The first round, it was just a feeling out round. He didn't really do too much, push the action, came out of the corner for the on the bell like a coiled spring, but he was patient. And in the after fight interview, he did say because this was his first 6-rounder, he's got a bit more time and he wanted to have a look. He was being patient, and he sort of said, once I got into the second round, I knew what I wanted to do and wanted to start implementing that. And obviously it worked a treat, because the second round was where this fight ended. So in the second round, 2 knockdowns. And the first, I have to say, did look a little bit suspicious, and I went back and had a look at it. And I think it was more of a balance issue for Whittaker, because there were 2 right hands that came in, both of them sort of cuffing shots. The second sort of near the top of the head, but it didn't really look like it sort of caught much of anything. But it seemed to be a bit of a balance issue. That I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one, and he went down. But it did seem to be a bit of a soft knockdown, a flash knockdown. You sort of thought once Adeleye was going to pour on the pressure that Whittaker would be in trouble. But this first one a little bit soft in terms of the knockdown, but the second one, no doubt about it. Adeleye, after Whittaker beats the count, is all over him like white on rice. He actually catches him with a really nice uppercut, short uppercut, and that sort of set off the final sequence. And we're coming to a part where it's a little bit messy. It wasn't actually clear what was happening. Was the fight still off? Was Adeleye getting warned? Because after that uppercut, he lands a really nice right hand that seems to really take the stuffing out of Whittaker. Adeleye follows up with a barrage of punches, and then Whittaker slumps to the canvas, takes a knee, but Adeleye actually hits him while he's on the ground. He didn't catch him flush or anything like that, but it was an illegal punch. And at that point, it sort of seemed that Whittaker was going to get some time, and Adeleye was going to get warned. But then the referee turns around, and you can actually see that the corner for Whittaker has called it off. The towel has come in. The fight is over. So it was a little bit messy, and you didn't really know what was going on for about 10 or 15 seconds. And Adeleye perhaps getting away with, that illegal shot. I mean, it was one of those things that he was still throwing in combination, and, he sort of was committed to the punch. But Whittaker was down on the canvas at the time that he threw it and partially sort of clipped him with it. The referee wasn't too happy, but overall the fight was over, and it was all she wrote. So a second round stoppage for David Adeleye, who is now 4-0, 4 knockouts, and it's time, I think, for a bit of a step up, because he's clearly ready for it. Adeleye has been actually in recent months training and sparring with the likes of Anthony Joshua. Previously, he's worked with Tyson Fury. He's been popping up in a number of gyms all over the place, getting good sparring work. And it's clear from what we're seeing, and not just this fight, other ones too, that he needs a bit of a test, a bit of a step up. And I was actually thinking of a guy who's just fought over this past weekend in Kamil Sokolowski. He's just fought Victor Vikhurst in a card in France, and Vikhurst, at the point that he fought Sokolowski, was 4-0. It sort of seems to be that a lot of the top prospects that are coming through in that sort of region of the world are actually bringing in Sokolowski at some point, and often quite early too. I don't actually think that's an unreasonable matchup at this point, and it's clear that Adeleye needs someone who's a bit more durable, can give him some rounds, some resistance, and is actually going to be firing back with some intent. And as we saw in that Victor Vikhurst fight, Kamil Sokolowski will come to fight. He won't necessarily always have success and land as often as he would like to, but he is a game opponent, and he is a guy that can take some shots. Not necessarily, an iron chin, but he is a good fighter, and I think David Adeleye could benefit from one of those sorts of fights. It's clear, though, he needs to be fighting better opposition at this point. And I guess in the next sort of year or so, you could start talking for him for different belts. And given he's with Frank Warren, you could sort of see he'll take him through that area level English, British, European sort of route. 24 years old, there's no need to rush him, but it's clear he does need some better tests. Even though he's got limited amateur experience, I do think he is ready for the likes of a Kamil Sokolowski. I don't think that's an upset waiting to happen or anything like that. Or at least, hopefully, that fight or something of that sort of ilk would be happening inside the next 6 months. He needs to get some rounds under his belt, because ultimately that will be the most beneficial for him. Sure, he's getting some good rounds in the gym and apparently giving a good account of himself, but he is ready to actually have some of those rounds and bank some experience in the ring too. What did you make of this performance, and what do you want to see next? What are some of the names that you think would be an appropriate test now? I think he's sort of past that sort of Phil Williams, Danny Whittaker level that he's been fighting at, and obviously he's been looking good in those fights, so it's time for a step up for me. How about you? Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.